Alright, this is Andrew with Jodo Home Inspections. Today is November 29th, 2025, and we're doing a sewer scope today here in Mill Creek. We're at 1371 East Skyview Drive, and we have the camera pushed out 115 feet to the city connection. Now we're going to pull it back and record it and see what we find. So, fairly average length of a sewer line. Average length of a line that I see is around 100 feet, so kind of right in that range. This is called the nose-on. This is where it goes from your lateral line into the main city line. Looks like a gravel cement nose-on. Looks like a good connection there still. And then it looks like it transitions to transite. Transite is a cement asbestos pipe. At least that's what it looks like so far. It's very white in color, which is typical of transite. Just went underwater, 102 feet out. And I noticed as I pushed my camera out, I was going in and out of water, which is a sign that this line doesn't have very good grade. There's nothing blocking the end of this, and so it's not holding water because of a root. That would have been much better because you can just clean the root. This is holding water because it's a little bit flat, or you have a little bit of a belly. So not quite 10 feet before we come back out of it, but it's still holding some water. So it's not bad enough in this area that it's completely covering my camera head, but probably right around an inch, maybe a touch shy of an inch. Where it goes over my camera head, that's probably at least an inch. So again, we're still going in and out of it. We started at 102, so we're going on 20 feet of at least some sort of standing water. And through here it seems a little bit worse because we're completely submerged. The longer a belly is, the more concerning it is. If we go underwater for 3 feet, that's a lot less concerning. When we're underwater for 10 feet, I call those moderate bellies, where it's hard to predict if it would cause an issue. When you're underwater for 20, 30, 40 feet, those ones are the most concerning because you're more likely to get soft blockages where waste gets caught in the line, and then over time it builds up and it eventually backs up. And so it generally takes a little time. It doesn't happen overnight, like when you have a huge root that completely backs it up, but some people go 6 months and have backups. And so I would consider consulting with a drain specialist, get their opinion, and get a price to have it repaired. The only permanent fix for a belly is to dig it up and re-slope it, which at this point I think it's going to be outside the house, which is much better than being under the house. We're transitioning, so a couple pipes. We had a little ABS, and now we're going through some cast iron. Cast iron gets real rough and rusty. This looks like typical cast for the age. And then it transitioned back to ABS, and then back to cast, it looks like. So this is probably under the house, so where new drains have been added, or where they've been doing some remodeling. I think they probably replaced some of the pipes where they were accessible or where they were doing work, but then still use some of the original cast. I mean, sure, ideally it would have been best to replace all of the cast iron, but it's still fairly common to have a lot of cast iron under the house with this age of a house. But eventually it'll need to be replaced or sleeved. You could have it cleaned. That would make it a little bit smoother, prevent waste from getting stuck on it. Now we're coming up the roof stack, so this is just a vertical pipe. Not really anything to see here. I would recommend talking to a drain specialist about the standing water and get their opinion. I would recommend repairing it proactively. It's because it is kind of long. If it were 10 feet long, I'd say to get the insurance, clean it. But on longer bellies, they can cause issues in the long term. Like I said, it doesn't always happen overnight. They are somewhat unpredictable. Some people don't have issues with bellies because they're careful with what they're putting down, or they run so much water that it helps keep it clear. And then some people do have issues with bellies of this length. I'm going to end this recording now.